fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Hello, Salt Strong Nation. Joe Simons, like diamonds. We are back again. I got my boy Tyler's Reel Fishing, Tyler Anderson. Quick little story. Salt Strong, way back in the day, 4.5 years ago when we started. If you recall, some of you I know have been very loyal followers and audience members, and we love you. And you might recall in the very beginning, we used to post a lot of viral videos. And it didn't matter if it was freshwater, saltwater. We didn't care. We just loved people doing cool things, fun things, unique things when it came to fishing. And someone had forwarded me this video of a young man, looked like a high schooler or college student, and he had remade one of the Taylor Swift songs, one of those really popular pop hits that were all over the place, and even like adults are still singing it throughout the day. And I watched it. I was like, man, this is awesome. And we posted it on Salt Strong and got shared like crazy. And it ended up being, Tyler. And so fast forward, we're at ICAST. I've never met him before. I've watched him his videos. We subscribed to his channel. And we're at this Waypoint event, and I get introduced to Tyler Anderson and just blown away by this young man and what he has done and found a way to make money in college and really even had the opportunity to basically skip out on graduating, because he already had real income. I mean, it's what every kid's dream. It's every parent's dream. And just a real God-fearing person, a God-fearing young man. And I love what he stands for. I love everything he's doing, and I'm excited to hear the full story on how it unfolded. So, Tyler, welcome to the show, my friend.
Oh, howdy. I'm glad to be here. Thanks so much for letting me hop on the podcast.
Absolutely. And so where are you now?
So, right now I'm living in College Station, Texas, which is I wouldn't necessarily call it a small town. I mean, there's, 250,000 people in this town, but it's mostly college students, Texas A&M being so big. And just living here where I graduated college, and probably living here only for the next few months, kind of to get my feet on the ground somewhere and start this whole full-time journey after I graduated. And then the spring I'll be traveling all around the country and hopefully around the world making cool fishing videos.
So you have officially graduated. You're done at A&M?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay, got it. And and we're going to talk all about that because I know we have a lot of adults, parents like myself, who have kids who were, really excited and a little anxious and nervous about our kids in college and what that's going to look like and how do your kids make money and have opportunities. It's every parent's dream, right, is to see, your kids not just have success, like worldly success, but just to find something they love doing and gosh, to be able to make any kind of living doing something that you're really passionate about at a young age. I mean, that's everybody's dream. And then we have a lot of young people that are also trying to figure it out, right? It was like, man, how can I make a living without having to be stuck in a cubicle my whole life? And you're doing it. So I think it's so cool. You found a way to make money in college, and I want to talk all about that and how you made that happen and how the doors open up. But first, I'd love to know just the backstory. Have you been fishing since you were young? Like, you have a fishing family?
So I wouldn't necessarily say that I grew up with a fishing family. I did grow up on a lake called Lake Travis in West Austin. My family had jet skis and piers, wakeboard boats, and we had a dock on the lake. And so I think if it was warm outside, we were out in the lake. Even during the school year, we were out there almost every evening. And I guess as a byproduct of that, because my grandpa enjoyed fishing, and he didn't have any sons to take fishing, I was kind of like I was his grandson. But I was the first person he had in his life that he could teach how to fish. So he definitely took me under his wing when I was really young. I mean, we have pictures of me when I'm barely old enough to hold anything, and he has a rod in my hand, and he's got me on his lap to catch a bluegill. So I definitely started fishing from a young age. Didn't have Scott Martin as my dad to pick me out. So I had to learn a lot of things on my own throughout the years, but definitely had a good grandpa to get me started.
Do you remember when you caught your first bass?
Oh, man, first bass? No, I was probably too young to remember that.
But it all started with the old bluegill, huh?
It did, oh yeah.
I love it, man. I have similar story and very, very fond memories of growing up just fishing off of docks. Like when you mentioned your family was, into boats and kind of living the lake life, as we call it here in Central Florida. Did you guys ever have a bass boat?
No, we didn't. So, until high school. So we had wakeboard boats and all the water sports. And my dad grew up on an amazing fishing lake in Minnesota, and he was never into it when he was growing up, and his family wasn't either. And so when he moved to Texas, of course, he didn't know how good fishing was, and he was never really into it. And so it wasn't until kind of my early middle school time when I started watching a lot of Bassmaster TV shows and such that my dad realized my love for fishing was kind of outgrowing my love for wakeboarding. And he made the hard decision the hardest decision he's ever made in terms of water sports, to get rid of his wakeboard boat and buy a bass boat for me. What's that? My roommate just started his car. Right. And so,
hey, that's why we do these podcasts. I've had my little kids come in the back asking for a piece of gum. I've had all kinds of stuff. So we love distractions.
Let's see. Let's wait for he drives a loud Jeep.
Oh no, man! Don't worry. That's the beauty of these podcasts. People love the fact that we're not cutting stuff out. So like when was this? So this is all like high school. So you're what? Like, can you even drive a car yet? Like when you're getting into the bass stuff?
Oh no. Okay. No. So I think I got the bass boat when I was a freshman, but I had been talking about wanting a bass boat since like 6th grade.
Got it.
So I think I watched Takahiro Omori win the Classic, and I was just so like jazzed up by that I wanted to do that. I told myself I want to be a pro bass fisherman. So my dad let me join the local like adult club fishing thing, and that was before they even had high school youth fishing. So I wish, all the adults say, I wish we had high school fishing when I was around. I kind of wish high school fishing was a few years before I was there, because I was kind of like on the cutting edge of that stuff. And so I joined an adult fishing club, went out fishing with some adult guys, and kind of learned as much as I could until I got to high school and I had the chance to start my own high school team. And at that point, my dad kind of knew my passion for fishing was there, and we only used the wakeboard boat when it was warm, and sure there's a lot of the months in Texas, but there's still plenty of time when the boat is sitting idle that we could be actually on the water doing something.
Love it. So did you start your high school bass team?
I did.
Okay, cool. So what year was that?
That was my beginning of my sophomore year of high school.
In like what actual year?
2012.
Okay, so interesting. So when did high school fishing get hot? Was it obviously had to have been around that time, because Texas, I feel like, is a pretty big bass state. And was that new? Was high school fishing somewhat new to Texas then?
Yes. So
okay.
Central Texas is kind of where high school fishing started in Texas. It's a lake called, not a lake, a high school called Marble Falls High School.
Okay.
And they were the first one in Texas to have a team. And so we kind of followed in their footsteps, and I knew one of my best friends went to Marble Falls High School, so I kind of had I got to ask some questions. And we started fishing tournaments before, and hosting tournaments before a lot of the big leagues did. So there's a huge league called THSBA and another big one called SCTX. And now their high school tournaments have 500 boats in them per tournament.
Whoa.
So high school fishing has definitely exploded in Texas, but when I was there, it was 50 to 75 boats for a tournament, so much smaller.
So for those that don't know, that high school fishing clubs, I guess the club is the right word, is like massive now. What does that look like? Do you guys practice together in high school? I know in college, we'll talk about that next, but in high school, do you still practice together? And obviously you're doing tournaments. What does that look like?
So high school fishing, I mean, when I was in it, it was pretty lackadaisical. You would get on the lake with your buddy and this usually not practice. Usually there wouldn't be any. I mean, there was kind of camaraderie, but there wasn't it's hard to explain. It wasn't all that competitive. It was kind of pretty chill.
Got it.
And but there was still an awesome opportunity to fish some good lakes and get people involved in the sport. And there were definitely a ton of kids on the Lake Travis High School team. That's where I went to school. That weren't all that good at bass fishing when they started the team. And then when they left the team, they were a lot better. So I think high school fishing in general is about growing the talent and the love of fishing for a lot of people. Now that you have boats, tournaments with 500 boats, of course, you've got a lot of daddy's money in there with high school kids being driven around in a $90,000 boat with all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
So now it's a lot more serious and competitive. And, now that colleges are starting to offer scholarships, now you have parents getting their kids in high school fishing and youth fishing from like sixth grade on. That way their kids can have a good chance of getting a scholarship offer.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second. That's nuts. So one more question. I don't know the answer to this. Like, are there cuts? Like, like I played baseball growing up. There was cuts. Like you had to make the cut and be on the team. Mm-hmm. Is fishing? Is it more about that kind of, hey, everyone's included because we want to grow the sport, or is it getting competitive now where, hey, there's actually cuts and you get cut from the team and stuff?
To my knowledge, there's no cuts, but with high school fishing, it's only 2 guys to a boat. So the problem that we always ran into is that we never had enough boats for kids. Mm. So if your dad owned a boat or if you owned a boat, then of course you got to fish with your partner. But the rest of the guys, we had to have adult volunteers. And that is the thing that we need more of those across the country. We need more people to volunteer as high school boat captains. Because most high school tournaments nowadays, the high school kids can't drive the boat. So I started early enough that the high school associations actually let me be my own boat captain. So my dad could boat captain 2 other kids. So we borrowed a boat from somebody else, and my dad would drive, and I would drive our boat. But nowadays, that's a kind of a liability issue. Yeah. So you have to have a boat captain. And so we had plenty of kids every tournament that wanted to fish, but just didn't have the extra boats to give them the opportunity.
Well, also too, I mean, just you can't even drive a truck to back your boat, down the ramp until you're depending on what month you were born. But I mean, you might be a junior by the time you even turn 16. So that kind of eliminates ninth graders for sure, and most 10th graders. So what happens in that case? So can assuming your high school has the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, can the 9th graders participate? They just have to have an adult, or what?
Oh, no. So there's now like 6th grade fishing teams.
That's nuts.
So there's no, I think you misunderstood the statement I was making. I was saying to be your own boat captain and not have an adult in the boat.
Got it.
And that was the thing that I could do back then. Now you can't do that up until college. You have to have a boat captain in your boat with you.
Got it.
Just for liability reasons.
Yep.
They don't want a high school kid, no matter if he can drive a truck or not. They don't want a high school kid driving around a lake. So your dad or your mom or your boat captain, whoever it is, drives the boat.
Got it. Makes sense. But they don't fish. They're just driving.
No.
Okay.
They're just driving.
Got it. Okay. Cool. So then what? Like I know now it's like you mentioned, it's competitive. You got parents who are getting their kids starting crazy young. Were there scholarship opportunities when you graduated high school for fishing? Yes.
So I was offered scholarships from. Well, one squad I didn't apply to, but they had talked to me. One was Bethel and one was Dallas Baptist. And those were kind of 2 of the very, very early schools that had official scholarship and well-funded teams at the school. And now there's 20 or maybe even more schools that are offering fishing scholarships. So it's cool to see how in 4 or 5 years the sport is growing so much across the country.
Are these full rides?
Well, if you're good enough, of course. But I'd say the majority of these schools are not offering complete full rides, especially to everybody on the team.
But so, what would the average person get? Are they getting their books and lodging paid for? Or what is it? Or do you get a free boat?
Well,
what does that look like?
Yeah, so a lot of these teams are, like I mentioned, they're very different. So I can't speak for all of them, but I know for schools like Bethel, they give most kids quarter to half scholarships. I don't think they do any full rides. And they pay for all of your fishing expenses, so gas, lodging, food. They have a company, or they have a team credit card. They go to Bass Pro Shops and basically just stock up every tournament as a team and spend thousands of dollars. So everything you could ever want is paid for by the school.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so did you get a scholarship at A&M?
No.
Okay.
So Texas A&M is one of the biggest schools in the country, biggest SEC D1 football. So the struggle that a lot of these kids that go to D1 schools realize is that these schools don't really care about us. And it's a sad realization, especially when A&M has won the national championship 3 times. The school still doesn't seem to give a rip about the fishing team because we are a club sport. So like I understand why a giant D1 school wouldn't care, but we do have the budget to pay our football coach $7.5 million a year. So they definitely have some budget to help us out with gas, but we've tried. It's just very hard to secure any sort of funding from D1 schools.
Well, as you know, and as you'll find out in life, you kind of follow the money trail, and there is a ton of money in football, and obviously that didn't happen overnight, but you have boosters, and they're gonna eventually there'll be young guys like you who become really successful entrepreneurs that all of a sudden give a big amount, and all of a sudden everyone's eyes like, wait a minute, this is no longer a club sport. This is the real deal.
Exactly.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Yep. I think so as well.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So I read a story somewhere that you joined I guess it's the Aggie Anglers, and you were a freshman or sophomore, and there was one guy who was maybe a senior. He's the stud, and he said that if you can outfish him on his lake, you can fish with him. Is that how it went down?
Yeah. So Josh Bensema, he was a junior when I was a freshman, and he had just won the college national championship. And his partner was a graduating senior, or he had just graduated, so he needed a new partner. So just kind of coming to the team, maybe in my hot head, I was like, hey, I want to be your partner. And he was like, all right, well, you got to beat me on my home lake for that to happen. So I beat him on his home lake.
That's awesome. And then you got to fish with him, and you guys did pretty well, right? That first year.
We did, yeah. We qualified for both championships. Did not attend the FLW because I was working at camp that summer, but the Bassmaster one we attended, and it was a super fun time.
That's awesome, man. All right.
Yeah.
And so when did all this YouTube stuff happen?
So the YouTube stuff happened even before, probably in conjunction with the high school fishing stuff. I think I started my channel, it was February 23rd of 2013, so maybe a year after, or they probably said the same year that I started the high school team. I'm not sure. Actually, that would make sense because I graduated in 2015. So it was right around the same time that I started the high school fishing team. And I just loved, because I was in water sports and water activities, I loved the whole action sports scene. So I loved the way that GoPro, the company, made a camera that you could put anywhere and get awesome shots. And so I looked at fishing, a sport that I thought was incredibly exciting, especially bass fishing. And I noticed that all the fishing TV shows were incredibly boring. I just thought that the model was so cheesy of guys, setting the hook and then a cutaway to them, doing an interview with the camera. Oh, that was a big one, man. I can't believe I caught that one. I thought that was so cheesy and dumb, and I still think it is. I still think, I don't know why sponsors would invest in a dumb TV show. That's another story though. But I decided that I wanted to make fishing exciting. And so I started editing shorter videos with electronic music, and nobody had really done electronic music in the fishing industry before. And I really had no intention of even being big. I just wanted to make some fun fishing videos that I enjoyed and maybe some of my friends could enjoy. And me having a personality of wanting to document everything, I did. I documented everything and started putting out a whole lot of videos. And in hindsight, I wish I had put out even more because I was definitely ahead of the curve, and I wish I had realized that. But I didn't realize I was ahead of the curve until the curve started to form.
Because no one was really making real money in 2015 on especially. There might have been someone, but there weren't anyone in fishing was right yet. It wasn't massive yet.
There were plenty of YouTubers that were making money in 2013 when I started, but I actually didn't even know make money until beginning of 2015.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got my first check, I believe, in the beginning of 2015. I've been doing it for 2 years.
Do you remember how much it was, your first one?
It was $75.
That was a celebration, though, man. That's awesome.
Oh, dude, I have it framed in my room.
So you know exactly how much it is.
It's a big deal. $75.81.
So cool. And so that had to be a pretty eye-opening moment, right? Like you're like, all right, I mean, that's a lot for even a 40-year-old who's never made any money from a video to get that first check. It's like the confidence booster, like, all right, this could be something. So you're 20 or so, maybe when this. No, you're not even 20 yet when that happened.
No, I was 17 or 18.
Okay, so you're 17, 18, and did a light bulb go off? Like, hey, maybe I could make some money at this, or like, when did that happen?
It was still like, maybe I can make some side income, but there wasn't any thought about making a full-time living yet.
Okay.
Because I didn't know anybody that did that. It was still kind of like, I can make money on YouTube, cool, but I still got to go to school. That was the thought process.
And so, well, fast forward. So you're now in school. Your YouTube channel is growing. You're just putting up stuff periodically. You're getting a check here and there. I know. I remember seeing your stuff. Like you had a whole, like I don't remember. I call it a series, like 4 or 5 videos on do bass actually eat blank, crawfish, worms, whatever, bluegill. So when was that? Because that seemed like those kind of like really took off, like all million plus views.
So those have been over the past 4 years. I've done them every spring.
Okay.
The most popular ones were 2 years ago. I had 2 go viral in one spring 2 years ago. But I filmed the first underwater video in general on my channel, I think in 2016, spring 2016. And that, along with the Taylor Swift video you mentioned, those 2 videos kind of launched my channel into notoriety. And I kind of became one of the first big fishing YouTubers in that time.
Are you? I want to. So first of all, for you guys listening on the podcast, we will definitely embed his YouTube videos on the blog page. You can see that at saltstrong.com/podcast, or go to search his Tyler's Real Fishing on YouTube. They're awesome. The underwater stuff, like how clear that is, and the bass, like how they're behaving. Like you can learn a lot from it, and it's just so cool. But I want to hear about the Taylor Swift thing. Like, where did that come about? Like, did you film all that on a GoPro? Is it that simple? And you actually sang, like, you have a pretty good voice. You sang the song and everything?
Well, so I just love parody videos. And, a lot of them on YouTube are kind of, quirky, and some are kind of, vulgar. And I wanted to make a fun, clean parody video about fishing. No one had ever done that before, and I'm all about doing things that nobody's ever done. And so I recorded the song. I had to go to a friend of mine at church that had a little recording studio in her house because she was an aspiring musician. So she helped me record the song. And I mean, looking back on it now that I've actually recorded some stuff for Spotify, I mean, it was a janky setup for sure, but very grateful that she allowed me to film, and she allowed me to record. We worked on it together and got the song, in the MP3. And then I basically just had my dad film me all around the lake, and we kind of brainstormed some ideas. So the reason why I love YouTube is I love storytelling. And so I basically tried to match the lyrics of the song and the storytelling with how her actual song went. So the emotions of, I think some dude she was breaking up with some dude, or I think she always is in her songs, but she was breaking up with some dude, and she was like sad about it, and then she was like, happy because it was all over. So I wanted to kind of get like the same emotions, but about catching fish. So we planned the whole thing out. We filmed it over a few days in the water, and it was just, I think Taylor Swift was such a big name at the time, and people shared it around.
Did she ever like share it or anything? Like, did you ever tag her?
No, she didn't. I mean, she was a mega pop star even at that time, so I don't think she ever saw it.
That's so funny.
But her label did copyright me on YouTube though, so they made all the money from it.
Oh, got it. Oh yeah. So I guess if even if you're not using her lyrics, if it's the same beat.
Yeah, which I think is kind of illegal. YouTube has a problem with that of labels and such taking people's content just because it sounds like or is close to one of their artist songs. And I was completely functioning under parody law, but they don't care.
How much do you think that video has made her?
I don't know, maybe $1,000.
Okay, so not tens of thousands.
Not a whole lot. No.
Still, hey, I'd rather have $1,000 myself.
Yeah, me too, but it's not worth any sort of legal battle.
Yeah, not with Taylor Swift.
I'm not winning. I'm not winning that.
No. All right. So besides that one, you're doing these Do Bass Actually Eat. I'd love to hear some of the other ones that either that you've really loved doing, whether it be travel or ones that have just got taken off, like gone viral, that maybe even like shocked you. I know we've had some that have shocked us, even like some of the knot tying stuff that we have a million views on. Like we never in a million years would have guessed knot tying would have done that.
So, I mean, I've created videos in many different spaces, from instructional to crazy viral challenges. And I mean, the music videos are definitely the most fun for me, and I'm actually planning a third one right now. But they do take a lot of time to write the lyrics that are good, to record them, and to, of course, set up the time to get a camera guy and actually film the video good. So I have a music video plan, but I would say that my favorite video that surprised me most was a video called the Whopper Plopper Train Challenge. And I was out fishing with a buddy at his really awesome pond. He has a few ponds on his property. And I caught a fish on a Whopper Plopper, and I thought, what if I took the back treble hook off, attached the split ring in the back to the front split ring of another plopper, and made like a train of two of them.
Okay.
Because I was like, they're independent. The only thing that moves in the bait is that little spinny tail. And so I put two together, and I caught one on two of them. And I was like, what if I did three? So I did three, then I did four, then I did five, and I did six. So that video was fun to film, and it started a series on my channel that everybody else is kind of afraid to do, because if they did, they'd be basically ripping off my ideas.
Yep.
So now I've done the poplar train, the chatterbait train, the Cinco train. I caught fish on 5 wacky Cincos in a row. I basically stringed them all together from the bottom of the wacky hook to the eye of the next hook.
I love it. I remember the Whopper one. I'm gonna go watch some of these other ones after we get off this call. That's so funny.
Yeah, and I've got some plans this fall for filming probably the Stairbait train. I got to do a frog train and a spook train. I think that'll complete the top waters. But yeah, I'm excited.
That's so cool. All right, and I want to talk about YouTube in particular, because that's one of the kind of the themes of this particular interview. So it starts taking off. Like, you've had some of these videos go viral, and now you're making like decent money. Is this enough to where you mentioned earlier that, hey, maybe I didn't even have to like complete college, because you basically had a legit paying job. Like, when did it take off for like, man, this is like thousands of dollars a month. Like, this could be a real deal.
Yeah, I think it wasn't until like the end of sophomore year of college that I was really making some good money. I mean, it was amazing. It was like $20,000 a year or something. But I saw the potential there. I saw how fast other channels were growing, and I knew how much some of my buddies were making on YouTube. And so I knew the potential to make some good income was there. And I was part of an organization called Startup Aggieland. So the cool thing about going to a big university, and A&M is very special because we have so many student organizations. And this one was very cool in that it was started by some entrepreneurs that wanted a space on campus for other entrepreneurs to be able to talk about our ideas and get funding. And so I was able to be a part of big pitch contests. We had billionaires come in, both Aggies and non-Aggies, that would hear business ideas. And once a week, we'd all meet together just to discuss, all the businesses we want to start. So it was a very collaborative environment. And I had a lot of smart people there, both ex-Aggies and also current students that were also starting their own businesses. And the people there helped me see Tyler's Reel Fishing as not just a YouTube channel, but as a brand, and as a potential for so much more than just making YouTube videos.
So what was your pitch to them?
My pitch to them was just like, here's my channel. I make money. If you're a sponsor, I can help your company, grow in value as you go with me. And if my channel grows, we can do our own branded products and stuff. So it was definitely different than most Startup Aggieland kids. Most people there, most of their ideas were much different than mine. But I was one of the only kids in college that actually had revenue already.
Ooh, yeah, that helps.
They loved to have me on the team as part of the organization, because I was able to tell a lot of these kids that were starting their businesses a lot of the issues and stuff that I had, making money, dealing with people, that kind of stuff. So it was a fun environment, and I had several people there tell me that it'd be smart to drop out. Like, you can come out to college later, you're making good money, who knows how long this will last. But I also had a lot of people telling me that, hey, college is only 2 more years for you. Like, your stuff will still be there. Like if you make it a priority, you can live the entrepreneur life in college and grind hard. And then by the time you get out, you will still have your business. And talking with sponsors in the fishing industry, they all said they would rather me finish college and take it slow, and then after college hit the ground running, rather than drop out and try to do this thing full time from the time I was 19.
I believe that is sound advice, and which is what you did.
Which I know is hard, because there's a lot of kids out there, CES YouTubers, and I know a lot of people would not have made the same choice that I did. And I'm not trying to put myself on any sort of higher moral ground. It was a hard choice, but I'm just so glad that I had those wise people to tell me, to wait 2 years. And really, in the grand scheme of life, 2 years is not a long time. 2 years is very, very short. And so I was able to see that and have people telling me that. And so I'm very glad that I stayed in, got my education. And really, I don't even think I was ready at 19 to live on my own, travel the country, and make videos.
Yep.
I'm a Christian, so I'm a community person, so I need to be plugged into some sort of local church. And if I was 19, some hot-headed kid traveling the country, I would probably have made a lot of mistakes. And so I am very glad that I stayed in college, much more to build my character than to even get an education. College is great, but it ain't what it used to be. And so, a lot of the classes you take are kind of waste of time, in my opinion. So I stayed in college more to grow my character and learn how to deal with people than, to get a amazing education.
I love it, man. So let's talk about the next level. So you get some money from YouTube, 20, 30, 40K, it's starting to grow, I'm guessing, per year. Mm-hmm. And now you have an audience, right? And so now you're attracting sponsors, right? So what's that like, dealing with sponsors as a 19, 20-year-old kid?
Yeah, sorry, a helicopter's going over the house. That's loud.
Dude, you're a celebrity, man. They're coming for you.
Oh, paparazzi here. It looks like that paparazzi takes me to the hospital, so I'll let him go. Man, so yes, the sponsor thing was and it still is a hard market, because the fishing industry for so many years had been all about the pros. If you're not a pro, I don't want to talk to you. And so when YouTubers first came on the scene, one of my old sponsors, Lucky Tackle Box, they basically offered to fly a ton of YouTubers to ICAST. This was ICAST of 2016 and 2017, I mean 2016. And basically they had us all wear LTV shirts. We all had cameras. None of us had ever been to ICAST. We're all vlogging everything. And we basically hit the industry, by shock value. And by that, you're the 5th YouTuber that's come into my office today, into my booth. So companies had no clue what we were. They had heard rumors about some people making fishing videos, but they really weren't all that interested. So I think a few sponsorships were acquired from that ICAST, and that was the early adoptee audience. That was the sponsors that believed in it from the start. And those are, of course, all of our favorite sponsors, because we know they believed in us from the start. Yep. But even second and third year ICAST, it was a rough go of things, because either the sponsors still didn't really understand social media. That was kind of option one. Option two is they saw what we were doing, but we weren't the pros, and so they didn't really care. And option three was they did care about social media, but a lot of YouTubers had made a lot of brash decisions in those first 3 years with sponsors and burning bridges and such, that the term YouTuber had a bad connotation. And so coming into this year as the 4th ICAST, I don't even go by YouTuber anymore, because YouTuber is such a bad name in the fishing industry because of a certain group of anglers. And so I just go by content creator, by freelance fishing guy, and so I've learned that fishing industry is to the outside is very small. From the outside, it's very big, but as you get in it, it's very, very small. So my resume per se is my reputation. So I've had a great reputation in the industry, and a lot of companies, whether I work with them or not, they know that by now. And so it's been very easy for me to get meetings with these companies and talk about potential sponsorship opportunities. And I've got a great list of sponsors now that love what I do. And of course, every contract does different things. Some are purely based on YouTube, some are based on freelance stuff, which I'm hopping into more now. So I've loved the industry. I have several friends on Instagram that have huge pages. They run truck pages and hunting pages, and they've gotten into their prospective industries and they hate it. And so they asked, I had a buddy that he has 1 million followers on his truck Instagram. And I asked him, how's the truck industry? He said, I hate it. How's the fishing industry? I was like, that's unfortunate because I love it. So I've really fallen in love with the people in the fishing industry. And part of the reason why I didn't drop out of college is because I feel like if I had, I would have chased views over relationships, getting YouTube views. And I'm so glad that I'm choosing the route of choosing relationships, because I think, sure, maybe YouTube will last 10 years. Maybe it'll last 20 years. But I want to be doing this longer than 10, 20 years. And so all the people, not to call them out or anything, but are just chasing YouTube views right now that aren't doing anything with the industry, I understand that, and I see how that can be lucrative right now. But I think in terms of my career, it is smart that I, of course, continue to chase YouTube, but continue to build relationships with sponsors, because I think that's where a lot of the money in my career will be found.
That is profound statement from a young man. I love the relationships over views and not vice versa. So let's talk about that, because I've seen it happening with young men like yourself and women who, there's always that struggle, that inner just struggle of what's wrong and right and how far is too far. There's always someone else doing a little bit more clickbaity, or for the girls, a little bit more showing of skin. And it can get, especially for a young person. I'm now 40. I don't really care so much anymore about views and how many people like my stuff, but still deep down, all of us want to be liked. So I completely get it. But especially for a young 20-something-year-old, there's a lot of just peer pressure, and you want to look cool, and you don't want to look bad. And the whole likes thing, it's something you guys have grown up with, and it's very addictive. And let's just say that if you do something kind of over the top and not borderline illegal, but maybe just not to your moral guidelines, you can get more likes and you can get more fans and more comments and more engagement. So how do you balance that? Like, what's your advice to a lot of these young people who are seeing what's going on and have a moral compass, but how do you balance that?
I mean, it was really staying plugged into family and community. I have great parents that really believe in what I'm doing, and I call my dad on a daily basis to talk about video ideas. And if I have an idea, it's happened many times that I think is awesome, my parents will check me and say, hey, is that really wise for you to do that kind of thing? There's been many times when I've had some sort of hate comment that I spout back at, and I, try to, roast him, and I post a comment on my Instagram to make people laugh about it. And I've made a lot of mistakes, and so I'm lucky that I have parents that call me out on that kind of stuff. And then I had roommates that I lived with for 4 years in college that were all Christian youth, that all loved my channel, loved what I was doing, and really, were fans of me in general. And they weren't, of course, fans of the channel because I grew up with these guys, but they loved seeing how I was building the business. And so I was able to bring them into my decision process, and they helped me design video ideas and stuff. So it's really staying plugged into wise people that can point you in the right direction, because the YouTube game is really, really hard to stay on top of if you do not continue to get views. And so there's that right balance between making videos to get views, but also continuing to protect my reputation. So that's kind of the long-winded answer there.
That's awesome. And you mentioned the hate comments. How do you deal with that? And do you even address them? I think I'll speak real quick because we have a YouTube channel as well. I think it's one of the most hateful places, more so than Instagram and Facebook. And it's tough because it used to really get to me. What I used to do was, let's just say you had 20 comments, and usually there's only one or two bad ones, right? And it might only be one. It might be one out of 100, but that one is what gets to you, and you end up replying to that one and giving it so much more attention than all of the people that love your stuff and are giving you such good feedback. And it should be the other way around, right? But it's tough to do. So I'd love to hear your feedback on how you deal with the hate stuff, and how do you ignore it, or do you?
So, I mean, yeah, like you said, it definitely got to me a lot more when I was younger. And again, another perk for staying in front of your skill like I was able to get a hate comment, go out into the common area and tell my roommates, and I'd fume about it, and they'd be like, Tyler, chill out. It's some, 45-year-old deadbeat dude, keyboard warrior that is jealous of your life. So there's a lot of that going on YouTube, I think, a lot of jealousy. And I mean, I have a lot of hate comments blocked, so I kind of know by now what type of verbiage people use in the hate comment section. And so I have a lot of that stuff blocked, so it never even gets to me. But the hate stuff that does, I mean, you really have to have, as somebody in my church said, you have to have thick skin but a soft heart. So you have to be able to see, of course, if somebody is actually coming with genuine criticism, then you have to be able to have thick skin to not really care what they say, but a soft heart to be able to mold and change if they're actually making a point. But a lot of the comments are an F word every 3 words. And so this person is not actually coming at it from a genuine heart. Yeah. So at that point, you just have thick skin and you just delete it. So that's especially a lot of young YouTubers out there. Some friends of mine, they start getting hate comments and they start replying to them. We all do it. But my advice to everybody is literally delete everything that's hateful. I don't see a reason to keep it on there. There was a stigma back in the day that if you deleted comments, you were somehow like a fraud if you didn't allow everybody to have a voice. I don't care. If the government can censor us, I'm going to censor you. So that's my thought behind it. If I don't think your opinion is valid, then I'm gonna get rid of your opinion.
I love it, man. Let's talk too about what you found in the fishing world in terms of being a Christian and having faith. I wrote down a quote or at least someone quoted you. It says, "I can never be fully satisfied with what I do here on earth," and I love that. And I've actually been blown away in two respects. One, how much just hate is out there when you grow an audience, but two, how many amazing people are out there. And I've had some podcasts where even it's offline where I found out about someone who has amazing faith and is just a really amazing person that I had no idea about. And it's exciting to me that there are a lot of fishermen who are fishers of men. And I'd love to just kind of hear your thoughts on that as you've kind of grown and matured and what you're seeing out there and how that's impacted your channel and the kind of content you're creating.
So when I started the channel, there was really no thought about any sort of ministry or God using this channel for any reason. Not that I wasn't mature enough in my faith to think about that. Like I said, I didn't even make money. It was just a thing I did for fun. And I think I got my first Instagram direct message 2 or 3 years in of somebody asking hey, I saw you mentioned you go to church in your video. What church do you go to? And I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know people were listening to that section of the video. So I answered that question and then had more DMs started rolling in about, hey, I saw that you mentioned this about your faith. I grew up Christian too. And I was like, oh, awesome. There's a community out there. And then I kept getting more real questions hey, why do you believe this about your faith? And then I would get serious, hard questions hey, I'm struggling with this sort of sin issue in my life. Do you ever deal with this? So the channel very quickly turned, of course, mostly privately, from just being about fishing to, of course, with the daily vlogging sort of thing, allowing me to share every aspect of my life. And a lot of that is my church and my faith-based stuff. And so had a lot of people asking me about Christianity, about Jesus. And so I was able to give a lot of cool answers to that. And I've really seen how God's opened up this channel to be an avenue for the gospel and preaching the name of Jesus. And so I firmly believe that God has each of us here on earth for a purpose. And of course, our grand purpose as human beings is to glorify the Lord. But I think my purpose right now, my calling, is to make fishing videos that, get people excited about the sport and then be a good godly influence in especially the young people's lives, that they might not see that in other channels, and they're sure as heck not seeing that on social media and on TV. And so I think that's one more thing about staying in college, that I was able to build my character there and become a better man of God and a better representative of Him on the channel that I wasn't when I was 19. I think when I was 21 and graduated, or 22 and graduated, I was a lot smarter with my words, with my actions, and was able to give a lot better advice in terms of spiritual things than I was when I was 19.
I love it, man. We need more young influencers and content creators like you. So I know you need to get going here today, but I want to hear about the future. What's happening now? You've graduated. You're still doing YouTube. I know you've told me offline there's some videography and photography stuff. What can you tell us there?
So I've really discovered that my love for fishing and doing this whole business thing is it's not just YouTube. So there's quite a few YouTubers out there that just do YouTube videos. And like I said, that's great for now. You might be making a lot of money right now. My YouTube views are actually lower right now than they were a few years ago. And as I said, it's me being fully transparent, because the way the algorithm is set up now, the way that, taking the extra 2 years of college, my channel just kind of got behind a little bit. So I'm still one of the biggest out there, but the algorithm still thinks that my channel isn't posting a lot. YouTube is a funky system in general. And so I've noticed that in order to continue to make a full-time income, I have to expand and do more things for my sponsors than just make YouTube videos. And in doing that, I realized I had a love for videography, which is really what started me making videos in the first place. I love storytelling. And so the fishing industry, now that they know how important not just social media is, but how important good quality content is, these companies eat it up. There's not enough young people in the fishing industry that make videos that are high quality and take photos that are high quality. And so one of the ways that I've continued to make a living doing this, and I think will be a big part moving forward in my life, is working with these companies to create awesome content that they can use for their purposes. Using the experience and knowledge that I have on and off the water to help grow their brands, and of course grow my brand along the process, along the way, but just continue to make awesome content for other people. And really, I find a lot of joy in making things for other people. So my life right now is as a YouTuber, it's really self-centered. So you are doing stuff for your business. You're making videos about yourself. You're looking at the camera and talking to nobody. It's a very narcissistic system. And so just that's kind of become my personality, is that a lot of people that don't know me well think that I'm some narcissist that only cares about myself. And so the way that I've combated that and helped continue to grow my character is by working for other people. And I love it. Like I mentioned, the fishing industry is awesome. And I've had a lot of great connections the past few years and the past few iCasts, including you guys, that really help grow my business more than my brand. And so I think the more that I work with these companies, the more opportunities I will have for Tyler's Reel Fishing to do awesome things. So I think that the videography and photography freelance side will not only allow me to make income, but it will also allow me to give these sponsor opportunities for my personal brand.
I love it, man. And that I also assume that means you get to do some pretty cool travel, meet some really amazing people, because you'll be probably going out with some of the biggest and best in the world and the biggest and best brands. So that's so cool, man. Yeah,
exactly. Yep. I currently signing or in talks with a big fishing company about filming a lifestyle documentary with 5 of the best pro anglers in the world. So that'll be very, very fun if it goes through.
Well, this has been awesome. The big takeaway: relationships over views, because that's how this stuff is happening, right? I mean, you're young and you're trustworthy, because there are quite a few young people that know how to get behind a camera, but you know how to do the storytelling. You're trustworthy. They're not worried about you going and basically screwing them over, if you will. So that's awesome, man. All about the relationships. I love it, because I'm with you. If I had to make a bet, I would bet in 20 years from now, YouTube is maybe not what it is today. Might not even be around. Who knows? It seems hard to believe now, but Facebook, I mean, all that. Who would have thought? I'm a little bit older than you, but like MySpace was massive when I was younger. And like no one in a million years, they thought this is going to be the next biggest thing. And now, I mean, who's on MySpace anymore? So all this stuff comes and goes when it comes to social media. And that's so cool, man. I love it. So where can everyone follow you? Obviously, on YouTube is the main spot, the Tyler's Real Fishing. Definitely subscribe. I assume you're on Instagram as well?
So, yeah, it's Tyler's Real Fishing, Tylersreel Fishing. A nice little pun in the middle there. And that's everywhere. That's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. All that stuff. I'm on every social media you think of.
Love it, man. Well, Tyler, I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of what you're doing, what you stand for, and I can't wait to see where this goes. I mean, it's exciting how young you are, and you've already accomplished so much and just got a great head on your shoulders. So I'm pumped to see where you go. And all of you listening, I would love to hear your feedback on us teaming up with Tyler and doing some bass fishing videos. I put a post out just to our insider members about some future species. And even though our name is Salt Strong, we have a lot of anglers who live in central areas, not just like Central Florida and Central Texas, but like in the center of the country, who might only get down here in the Gulf of Mexico or the East Coast a few times a year. And it's been crazy how many people have asked for bass fishing. So if you would like us to team up with Tyler, do some really cool content on catching bass year round, let me know. Go to saltstrong.com/podcast. You'll see this podcast up at the top, and leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you and hear your thoughts on us doing some bass stuff with Tyler. And everyone, please go, especially to YouTube. I know where you're putting a lot of the amazing content, the videos, and subscribe to Tyler's Real Fishing, REEL, Real Fishing. You will not miss it. And check out that underwater stuff. It is so cool. We'll definitely put some links to that and embed a couple of your videos in there. So, all right, brother.
Well, good deal, man.
Yes, enjoy the cool weather coming on. I don't know if you're feeling it yet, but man, I woke up this morning and the humidity in here in Florida, it was gone this morning. I'm pumped.
Yes, it's a nice, cool morning here in Texas. We got some cloud cover, a little bit of wind. It's not 100 degrees yet, so very excited for fall coming.
Go, brother. Tyler, thank you so much for the time, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Chat soon.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul.